I believe that it is the mind that limits our achievements more than the body.
There is nothing that really limits you more than your own ideas of what you can do.
You know that the biggest problem of freedivers and divers is start to freedive or dive without a really idea of what they're doing to equalize. They just pinch the nose, they do something, sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not working. Sometimes it's close to the proper procedure, sometimes it's really far from the proper procedure.
Andrea is an absolutely amazing freediver. I had an equalization workshop with him because he is an expert in deep equalizing. That is usually the sticking point for most freedivers. That's what stops people getting to the depth that they want. The first part of the session was spent with Andrea detailing the delicate anatomy and very complex air spaces that are inside our head, which is very important for us to understand that theory, because unless we really understand what's going on, we don't know how to control it.
We just keep in consideration lungs, mouth and nose. These three spaces are connected to each other with two doors, glottis and soft palate. We went in the water to try directly to work on the equalization skills, but that was one mistake, because we discovered immediately that he needed to work before on the relaxation. Once that we decide to change the goal of the section, we start to work only on the relaxation. His performance was getting better and better. We need to work a little bit on the contraction of the muscle and the neck, but in the other section gave us really good results.
Static apnea is a really, really important part of freediving, because you're using it actually every time you're freediving. Because static apnea is plain breath hold. When you're only swimming or going deep, you do so many other things that you might not recognize symptoms of low oxygen in the same way you can do when you're training static. This is a very good way of getting to know your own body. How does it feel when I'm getting the urge to breathe? How does it feel towards the end? How can I recognize these signals in my own body so I know when to come up? Most of the time people come up not because they need to breathe, but just because they feel like they want to breathe. And that's why the coach can play a very, very important role of encouraging the athlete to stay longer. To be a good coach means that you should be able to encourage the person as much as possible, still knowing when it's time for this person to come up. With the right knowledge, you gain a lot. So before we do any kind of water session and actual breath hold, we teach them what's happening in the body, why it's happening, and that they're safe. So they understand this before theoretically, then we go in the water and they experience it for themselves. You always ask them afterwards, okay, how long do you think you hold the time? And maybe they say 1:30, 2 minutes, and usually it's a minute longer than that.
Very good. Okay.
Good. Very nice.
During the descent, there's two main phases. There's the part where you have to swim down to a certain depth. After this depth, you start becoming negative, heavy. That comes the phase that we call free falling. This is where you stop swimming and your body is just falling down towards the depth. Is another way of flying, maybe. Free fall is a very important part of the dive. The freediver can stop swimming and therefore can conserve a lot of oxygen because it's not using muscles. With Jeremy, we were practicing free falling, which is something that Jeremy has a little bit of a problem with, because when he starts free falling, he's tensing a little bit his lower back, and therefore his free fall is not very straight, but his legs are a little bit too far back behind his body, and therefore is creating resistance. The body position is very important. If the freediver is not streamlined, he will create resistance in the water, and therefore his free fall will not be as fast and as efficient.
Andrea, Lotta, Linda, these are people who hold world records, national records. They've been teaching freediving for years. They are experts in their fields. They're great practitioners and great teachers. And that's why I spoke to them, because even as a freedive instructor myself, I have a lot to learn about freediving. And if you want to learn about something, you have to talk to the experts.